Colombo, this is Derana 24/7.
Tonight, Faiza Mustafa refuses delimitation report. PM to meet the committee. President launches country's vision for 2030. China says over $1 billion of investments to Sri Lanka, possible every year. Indian Supreme Court removes BCCI chief.
First at 9. This is Derana 24/7.
Let's begin with local news. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says no matter what, he will continue to be the Premier of the country. He said this responding to journalists when asked about his opinion regarding the recent statement made by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa at a Foreign Correspondents' Forum. The former president recently said that he will topple the government in 2017. This morning, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe hosted ministers, parliamentarians, businessmen, journalists and other officials to breakfast at the Temple Trees. In one of our headline stories tonight, President Maithripala Sirisena says that it is the people who work for the betterment of the nation that are important to the country and not the ones who try to safeguard their own power. The President made this comment at the launch of the government's Sustainable Development Vision in Colombo today.
The national event to launch the government's program for sustainable development took place at the Presidential Secretariat in Colombo today. The President handed over the framework program to Professor Mohan Munasinghe, a committee member of the Sustainability Era Advisory Board overseeing the 2030 vision.
This country does not need those who are in power to gain more power or people who are waiting for the opportunity to acquire it. Instead, what the country today needs is a unified country where all of its citizens focus on moving forward with a strong bond and discipline. Our country receives most of its profit because of housemaids who are employed abroad. It's with their earnings that we import our petrol, diesel and coal. Even the luxury items needed by the high-income earners of the country buy what they want with these earnings. We need to change this situation. In order to contribute to the international knowledge market with our human resources, it's necessary to bring reforms within our educational programs and to expedite the process by adopting required changes. Sri Lanka is the only country in the world which has introduced a committee through a parliament for sustainable development. We are a small nation. It's important that we protect our environment. We also have to achieve a balanced development process by strengthening our laws, judicial system and establishing peace. We have introduced Sri Lanka's concept with regards to achieving the United Nations 2030 development goals. We are already preparing necessary plans. The economic development plan is one that will be launched soon. The current government is focused on achieving sustainable development. However, we also need the support of the nation to do so. We were engaged in a civil war for up to 30 years. It not only divided us as a nation, but also made us a backward nation in terms of economy and development. We could not achieve the expected growth rate. It is now our final opportunity. On January 8th of 2015, we elected Maithripala Sirisena as the nation's president. And in order for us to move forward as a country under his leadership, we need to do so by being united.
Well, let's talk a little more on the President's vision on the Sustainable Development Goals. Joining us now is Mr. Ashoka Gunawardena, who is the chairman of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency, or SEMA. Good evening and a warm welcome, Mr. Gunawardena. We've just seen the launch of the 2030 vision for Sri Lanka. How strategic do you think the government is now in order to implement these plans?
Well, this is a global initiative. For about 20 odd years, the global leaders were discussing, lobbying, and finally they came to a conclusion that there should be a shift in the development paradigm from the destructive development towards sustainable development. So it's immaterial whatever the local issues are, whatever the political situation is, but it's necessary for the world community, and each and every country should shift from destructive development towards sustainable development. So this is the ideal setup, because this was launched in 2015 September. Now the Sri Lankan government has initiated the process. Therefore, it's essential for the government to take necessary steps to make sure that the development happening in Sri Lanka is not destructive and we can sustain it for a longer period. So that's why it's the opportunity for us.
Mr. Abe Gunawardena, now what challenges do you see in fulfilling these aspirations for the country?
The core issue is that the development per se, it's only discussed in terms of economy. But while we are discussing about sustainable development, we need to discuss the three pillars: the economy, the society and the environment. So the major challenge we are facing right now is to have a different mindset altogether, how we can transition from destructive development towards sustainable development, because we cannot reduce this to rupees and cents. If you cannot change this mindset, then we won't be able to achieve the sustainable development. So the core issue is we need to think in terms of sustainability, different development paradigm.
Are you talking about an attitudinal change, and who are you talking about here?
Yes, an attitude, not only the general public, but the policymakers, the decision makers, the business community, all of us, the officials, all of us need to think differently. Then only we can see that we have new set of indicators. We were originally discussing only about the economic development growth rates and other GDP per capita. But this insists that we need to have diversified set of indicators, not only the commercial terms, economic terms, but the attitude of the people, how they think that development is, the interrelationship between the people and the relationship with the environment as well. So it's a set of indicators which will determine which direction the sustainable development go ahead.
Right. Mr. Abe Gunawardena, finally I would like to ask you how optimistic you are with the drift that we see between the two main partners of the coalition government. How optimistic are you that this program could be fulfilled?
Well, we are aware that this government consists of two major parties, but practically speaking, unless they can find a solution to this sustainable development, then the situation will aggravate. So, if we are to think out of a different model, then all parties should get together and have constructive dialogue towards achieving this. So, this issue will not affect the long-term goal of the country of reaching the sustainability.
Provincial Council and Local Government Minister Faisal Mustafa refuses to accept the Delimitation Commission report as two members of the committee have not signed it. This comes following the Delimitation Committee Chairman Asoka Piris handing over the report to Faisal Mustafa at the Provincial Council Ministry today.
The long-awaited and much-debated Delimitation Committee report was handed over to Minister Faisal Mustafa this afternoon by Committee Chairman Asoka Piris. It was believed that the next step would have been for the Election Commission to act upon the report. However, it was not to be. Minister Faisal Mustafa refused to accept the report, citing that it is not ethical to accept a report that is not signed by two members of the committee that compiled it. Salia Matthew and S. Misbah had not signed.
I
can accept the report only after all 5 members of the committee have signed it. Please update the signature of the 2 members who have not signed. Once you obtain their signatures and inform me, I will be ready to accept the report.
Much drama evolved afterwards. We learned that it were members of the government who had not signed the report. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe decided to meet members of the Delimitation Committee along with the party leaders. Government sources revealed that the Prime Minister will meet them on the 9th of January.
Defence Secretary Karunasen Hettiarachchi says research is of paramount importance to find the root causes of the Indo-Lanka fishermen's issue. He said this while speaking at the Institute of National Security Studies in Colombo on the importance of think tanks in security.
It is vital to recognize the importance of security think tanks in the region and beyond. We should generate some kind of outputs out of your research so that the people ultimately will benefited by those things. They have been doing thematic research, but I think the problems are with the people who operate the systems, and they do not have operational experience. But we change our research method to a new method we call participatory action research. Now, this is a classical example, this Indian fishing, India-Sri Lanka fishing problem. And we need to investigate not only desktop kind of research, but to go to the field and work with the Navy, work with Coast Guard of both countries and see what are the problems. And the administrators in centers may not understand fully the situation. Operators know, but they have no opportunity to express their views.
Meanwhile, India and Sri Lanka held ministerial-level talks on the fishermen issue today. Accordingly, Minister of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare of India, Radha Mohan Singh, met with Sri Lankan Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development, Mahinda Amaraweera, today. Their meeting was aimed at discussing ways to carry forward decisions taken at the Secretariat-level meetings earlier and to arrive at a parliament or rather a permanent solution on the issue. Soon after the meeting, Parliamentarian M.A. Sumanthiran and Minister Mahinda Amaraweera held a media briefing.
Significant progress has been made with regard to a number of issues, joint patrolling, communication equipment on vessels, quick methods of releasing fishermen who are apprehended, cooperation between Coast Guard and communication between Coast Guards, and also expediting the stoppage of this practice of bottom trawling. On the Indian side, they reported that up to now 92 bottom trawlers have been replaced by vessels that use other methods. They have reported that they don't issue licenses for trawlers that do bottom trawling anymore. They have reiterated their commitment to end bottom trawling. Quick progress has been assured to us by the Indian side.
Well, women in Sri Lanka leave to the Middle East in numbers with the intention of earning a decent living for their poverty-stricken families. Besides earning to support their families, these women migrant workers make an enormous contribution to run our economy daily with valuable foreign exchange. Yet, how many of us know the hardships they face in foreign land? Tonight, Ada Derana picks up the story of a young lady who is stranded in Kuwait with no help to return home.
දැන් මාස 4ක් වෙනවා ගිහිල්ලා 2016 7 වෙනි මාසේ 18 කුවේට් වලට ගිහින් එයාට කරදරයිලු. ඒ ගෙදර ගෑනු එක්කලා ඊයෙන් දැවිත අඬා කීවා.
34-year-old Kanti Sandarekha from Kegol first left for Kuwait in 2006, seeking solace from a home agonized by the lack of income to feed her 2 children. Her mother took over the responsibility of her little children when Kanti left Sri Lanka in search of a livelihood. However, before long, the mother of 2 was complaining of ill treatment at the household she is employed. Kanti's mother had visited the Foreign Employment Bureau many a time. How long does this mother have to wait around until her daughter's case is called and examined? How long will Kanti have to suffer until authorities intervene? Will this be one among many cases where harassed migrant workers are kept waiting for justice?
For a very detailed reintegration program that they have to undergo a stringent training process. Now we are insisting on that. So when the training process is in place, the product which goes out there would be a product which will be satisfying the person who employs that person, resulting in you will not have harassment.
That is a measure to be taken in the future. Our question remains in the present. The plight of Kanti, who hasn't had adequate training. Should she be harassed as a result, or should we implement a national policy that secures the lives of Sri Lanka's foreign exchange earners abroad? Ada Derana will be watching closely.
In our headline business story, China says Sri Lanka could attract $1.5 billion annually from China if all current plans continue smoothly. These comments were made by Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Yi Xiaoling, in an exclusive interview with Ada Derana 24/7.
In April, Honourable Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe paid the official visit to Beijing. We signed the MOU. In this MOU, we covered all the projects and the fields to be covered between two sides. I do believe if all projects in this MOU could be carried out, we need at least 30 years efforts from both sides. It at least attract, in the first stage, next 3 to 5 years, $5 billion, no any problem. And in the future, every year you can attract at least $1.5 billion China.
Time now to take a look at how the Colombo Bourse performed today. Here's Imesha Fernando with a stock update.
The benchmark all-share price index lost 35.39 points to close at 6,192.87, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index lost 23.94 points to close at 3,472.5. The turnover was 329.19 million rupees with 6.98 million shares changed in hands in 2,250 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,729.8 billion rupees. Top 5 gainers of the day were S&P Leasing, People's Merchant Finance, Equity 2, City Housing and Real Estate, and Kelsey Development. While the top 5 losers were Huge International, Ceylon Leather Products, Trans-Asia Hotels, Amana Takaful, and Singaputra Finance. Today's foreign purchases were 61.6 million rupees and the foreign sales were 88.02 million rupees. There were 1 crossing and the crossing turnover was 50 million rupees.
The Sri Lankan stock market had a volatile year in 2016. However, despite the ups and downs, the market is hoping to perform well in the new year. So what's in store for the market? Asanka Jayasekara from Guardian Equity Funds explains.
Thank you, Indivari. 2016 was a volatile year for the Colombo Stock Exchange, which dropped by roughly 9.7% for the calendar year. The global situation was unfavorable for emerging and frontier markets like Sri Lanka, as US increased their interest rates by 0.25% in December 2015. In Sri Lanka, we didn't see much of a recovery since the local situation was also unfavorable for investors. This is because the economy showed some instability with the depreciation in currency and increase in the interest rate, where both have negative correlation with the stock markets. Looking forward at 2017, again, global situation is not favorable for emerging and frontier markets. US increased their interest rate again in December 2016, and more interest rate hikes can be expected in 2017. This is due to US economy showing strong signs of recovery and Donald Trump's focus on infrastructure spending to drive economic growth. This leaves room for strengthening dollar in 2017, which coupled with higher oil prices can have an impact on Sri Lankan economy. However, if we analyze closely the local situation, especially the investor side, Colombo Stock Exchange is relatively cheaper and attractive than other peer countries. The key long-term driver of the market is company profits, and on average we have seen our good companies report earnings growth of 15 to 20% per annum for the last 9 months, which is actually a good thing. Then we need to see how much investors are willing to pay for these companies, and at the basic level we measure that by looking at price to earning multiples. For sentiments and confidence to improve, I think an improvement in macroeconomic fundamentals such as interest rate, fiscal deficit, currency, and consistent economic policies with political stability essential and vital in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you, Asanka. Time now to take a look at the currency exchange rates for the day. In your sports stories, South Africa in their first innings were 282 for 6 in the opening day of the second test played against the touring Sri Lankans. The match was played at Newlands, Cape Town. South Africa's Dean Elgar was dismissed at 129.
Winning the toss, Sri Lankan skipper Angelo Matthews invited South Africa to take the first release of the wicket. The overcast condition aided Sri Lankan fast bowlers who bowled a tight line and length to deprive South Africa to score freely. In his fourth delivery of the innings, Suranga Lakmal removed Stephen Cook without scoring. Dean Elgar and Hashim Amla put on 66 runs for the second wicket. Amla was clean bowled for 29 runs by Lahiru Kumara. Lahiru again sent JP Dumini without any addition to the score as Kushal Mendis held on to a spectacular catch down leg side. Du Plessis was the first victim of spin visit Rangan Herath. Then Temba Bauma departed as he was caught by Upul Tharanga of Lahiru Kumara.
BCCI President Anurag Thakur and Secretary Ajay Shirke have been removed from their posts by the Supreme Court of India in a ruling in New Delhi today. The court order was a result of a long-standing standoff between the BCCI and the Lola Committee. The board had resisted implementing some of the committee's recommendations despite their being part of the July 18, 2016 order by the Supreme Court.
According to sources, a committee of administrators will be appointed on January 19 this year to oversee the business operation of the BCCI. The composition of the committee will be finalized by a pair of amicus curiae, Gopal Subramaniam and Indian constitutional jurist Fali S. Nariman. According to the court, the most senior BCCI vice president will take over as interim president, while the joint secretary Amitabh Chowdhury will be the interim secretary. The court said the replacements will have to give an undertaking that they will adhere to the July 18th court order, which approved the majority of Lola Committee recommendations.
And in rugby, Havelock Sports Club, CRNFC, Navy Sports Club and Kandy Sports Club registered wins in the Interclub Premier League Rugby Football Tournament over the weekend.
High-rising Havelock, standing at the top of the table, comprehensively trounced CHNFC 80 points to 3 to register a resounding victory at CRNFC grounds. At the breather, Heavies led 45 points to 0, scoring 10 goals and 2 tries in an aggressively one-sided encounter. CHNFC converted a solitary penalty. Dulaj Pereira converted 10 tries into goals and scored 2 tries for the Heavies. Janik Jayasuriya with 2 tries, Chamara Dabre, Vimukti Rahula, Udara Anjana, Bihanga Pivituru, Rahul De Silva, Kevin Dixon, Dushyant Pridarshana and Nishon Pereira scored a try each for the Park Club. Vishwadinit converted the solitary penalty for the CHNFC. CRNFC overcame Air Force 34 points to 22 at Ratmalana. At halftime, CRNFC were leading 70-10. CRNFC scored their point through 2 goals and 4 tries, while the Air Force scored a goal and 3 tries. Kavindu Pereira with 2 tries, Omaka Gunaratna, Bhanuka Nanayakara, Kokila Sammada Peruma, Tarindra Ratwata scored a try each for CRNFC, while Prince Chamara converted 2 of them. For Air Force, G. Iddamalguda, S. Patabandi, Ishara Madushan and Nuan Pereira scored a try each, while Nuan Pereira was able to convert the try he scored. Navy Sports Club beat Police Sports Club by a convincing margin of 13 points at Valisara. The scoreline was 41-28 at the end. The Sailors scored 41 points through 4 goals, 1 try and 3 penalties. At Lemons, Police Sports Club were leading at 11 points to 7. Dinusha Fernando, Shanaka Chandima, Dulanjana Vijayasinghe, Suranga Pushpakumara, Danushka Pereira, Thilina Veerasinghe scored a try each for Navy Sports Club, while Thilina Veerasinghe converted 4 of them with a penalty conversion. For Police Sports Club, Radhisha Senivaratna and Udara Gayan 2 tries were scored, each while Rajita Sansoni converted 2 of them and also converted 3 penalties. Kandy Sports Club convincingly beat Army Sports Club 50-19 at Nittawala. At the breather, the score was reading at 27-7 in favour of Kandy Sports Club. Kandy Sports Club scored 5 goals and 3 tries, while the Soldiers scored through 2 goals and 1 try. Uchita Jayasuriya with 2 tries, Roshan Veeraratna with 2 tries, while Richard Dharmapala, Shehan Patirana, Damit Disanayaka, Sahiru Anthony with all 1 try, all scored for Kandy Sports Club, while Thilina Vijayasinghe converted 5 of them. For Army Sports Club, Ashoka Jayalal, Manoj Silva and Tusita Senanayaka scored a try each, while Gayan Salinder converted 2 of them.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Ask not what your country
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
And as we count down to the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, from tonight onwards, we will be taking a look at the events leading up to his inauguration. One of the crucial things Donald Trump campaigned prior to the election was on repealing the Obamacare Act. Now the president-elect plans to repeal a raft of the President Barack Obama's executive actions in his first day in office.
Sean Spicer, Trump's incoming White House press secretary, said on the US network ABC's This Week, Trump will immediately repeal a lot of the regulation and action that have been taken by this administration over the last 8 years that have hampered both economic growth and job creation. It was one of the 2 moves Spicer said Trump will make immediately after he takes the oath of office. He didn't specify which executive actions Trump will repeal. However, Trump has long been critical of Obama's moves on immigration, energy regulation and foreign policy and could look for ways to undo those and other actions. Spicer also said Trump will begin to bring a new brand to Washington, with a restriction on members of his administration becoming lobbyists for a period of 5 years after they leave Trump's government.
Today, Turks expressed sorrow over the deadly attack on a nightclub which killed 39 people. Many, including foreigners, gathered on the shores of Istanbul's Bosphorus waterway to mourn the dead.
A gunman dressed in Santa opened fire on New Year revelers at a nightclub just over an hour into the new year and then fled the scene. Security services had been on alert across Europe for New Year celebrations following an attack on a Christmas market in Berlin a few days ago that killed 12 people. The attack inside the nightclub shook Turkey as it tries to recover from a failed July coup in which more than 240 people were killed. Moreover, there were a series of deadly bombings in cities including Istanbul and capital Ankara.
That's all the news from us tonight. For the very latest, do join us on www.otherderana.lk and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at otherderana. I'm Indivari Amwati. Good night.
This is Other Derana, and you're watching Other Derana 24/7.